All right, we are live. So welcome to the Deep Book Club. Tonight we're discussing Lincoln in the Bardo by George Saunders. And this book was nominated by Tom, who will be moderating this evening. And just so you guys know, it is going to be a spoiler-filled chat. I mean, so if you don't want to be spoiled,
not even the book we're discussing. We may spoil other things too. Just saying.
Yeah. So we'll probably just do a little bit of describing the book before we get into the spoilery stuff. So I'll give you guys a warning if you want to stick around for a minute or two. But so Tom, do you want to tell people what the book was about? Like just
No, I'm kidding. No, it's about the night that President Lincoln's son Willie was his funeral happened, and he was laid to rest. I think it's February 22nd, 1862 or 3. I can't remember the year. But all the action in the book happens over that night, and tell the story in almost like a play, in that each character has their parts, and you can see when you read the book, oh, this is this character talking. This is like it was a script. But he also interleaves historical and texts with the period. So
right.
And some he made up, and some are actual texts.
Right. I would imagine all the stuff that he cited is the actual stuff.
Well, it sounds like the actual stuff, but not all of it is. And I don't think there's an article anywhere that says, okay, this is real and this is not. And people have been asking for it. I haven't found one yet. So that's the basic setup of the novel.
So what was interesting, I'm sure you listened to the audiobook.
Yes, and I read the ebook. I got the ebook right here.
Right.
Even though it's a white screen to you guys, yeah.
So I knew it was a full cast.
Yes.
I did not know.
It was a full cast.
But it was a full cast of 166 characters.
Yes.
Including a lot of notable names.
Yeah.
So
wait, I hear that. It's like, wait, is that? Yeah, it is.
Tell me how, in the middle of it, she's like, "Is that Key?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" She actually had to say
yeah.
And I was like, she actually went and looked it up. She pegged him. That's Michael Key.
Yeah.
No, and there was a couple of other actors that I recognized from other audiobooks I've listened to. So
what I will say with regard to the voices, they all do a spectacular job. But from hearing other people, from watching other things, it's Nick Offerman does Hans Vollman.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, the first time I heard him was Axe Cop. So whatever. So it's like, oh my god, that's Axe Cop. This is who's the author, So it took me a while to get out of that. But yeah, and David Sedaris as Roger Bevins, and I cannot remember who played the Reverend Thomas. Those are the three main characters, by the way.
I have it here. So Reverend who?
Thomas, I think it is. It's the Reverend. I can't remember his last name, apparently, because you should have found it by now.
I saw it.
Reverend George Noyes.
I'm
looking up.
I thought it was Reverend Thomas.
Scroll to the top.
I'm scrolling to the top.
Very slowly.
Thrilling podcasting here, I know, but
there's just so many names.
I know.
I don't think that was really
the Reverend Everly Thomas, George Saunders.
Yeah, Everly Thomas. Yes,
that was the author.
Oh, really? That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was in there. I heard him a few times.
Okay.
He was the Reverend.
So, yes, that's it. That's a very interesting choice, which we'll probably get to when we get to that section of the book. But basically, the setting is the graveyard where Willie Lincoln is laid to rest, and there are three spirits who open the novel: Hans Vollman, the Reverend Thomas, and Roger Bevins.
Bevins, he was Bevins.
Yeah. and they are made out to be longtime residents of, well, we'll call it the Bardo, but
Right.
in this transitionary state. And I thought when I was like, wait, is this Lincoln? Is this, it's like, I don't know what's going on here. And then I see, there it has who's speaking and such. And then, but
there was a few moments where I was like, I don't know what's going on right now.
right.
That didn't make sense to me until I watched the Cemetery VR thing.
Yeah. So.
Oh, what? Did I see this? Oh, you tried to show me this.
Guessing the answer is no.
I showed it to you, but you were busy doing something else. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, that was pretty cool, though.
Yeah.
That VR thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Take a look at it.
Do you think you're gonna make this a movie? Because I'd actually be willing to watch it.
I would be willing to watch the movie. I personally struggled with this format for a book, whether it was reading it or like audio wise.
It's hard to keep up with.
I had trouble seeing the full picture because while I was listening, I was listening to the individual people's stories. I just had trouble seeing it as a whole.
Oh, okay. Okay. I don't know. Well, when I did it, I did the read and listen sort of a thing. So I think that made it a lot easier for me to get okay.
I didn't have the text to be able to do that, but I was worried that because in the beginning it was just like blah 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 opposite la 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 opposite, and I was like, what are these? What is happening?
Right. Yeah, a lot of people objected to that, which I can see, but it really does. In a sense, I think it really doesn't matter. It's just the viewpoints that they express. The one chapter where they're talking about the moon was, there was the full moon, and it's like, and they tell so widely different variations of the story. It's like, well, who can you believe? So.
I actually kind of did enjoy that because you got it's different perspectives from all different angles, but when I looked up what opposite meant,
already cited, yeah.
I understood what the layout and how it was supposed to be delivered.
Yeah.
Still confusing at points.
Yeah, because we didn't we went to Barnes and Noble to look at the book because I didn't have it in my possession and I couldn't get it from the library. So we went and we sat and we looked through it and so we could see it in blocks. But it moved on from that, so it didn't come up that much more after that big chunk in the beginning. But I mean, there was a part that I got to when I was like, what happened to Willie? Where
he's around. It's Free Willy. So
it became so much more about the other ghosts, it felt like.
Yeah.
I feel like I was tricked. I feel like I wanted to hear so much more about Lincoln and his grief and what happened, and there's just these wacky ghosts telling their crazy stories.
Yeah. Crazy wacky ghosts.
I started quoting things, but the only guy I can remember is the guy who was like, "Fuck that guy, fuck this guy."
Yeah, parents,
wait till they wake. It's like walk a mile in our shoes, just sticking in grates.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, I remember. Was it? Yeah, they were obviously there for comic relief, but
right.
What'd you think of the notion that they manifest as their greatest desire or their greatest thought that they had in life? Like Bevins with his multiple eyes and multiple hands, and Volman for his erection, shall we say? That's put too fine a point on it. And interestingly, the Reverend Thomas with his hair standing on end and his mouth in an O, as though he were surprised or
It was weird.
It was weird.
Yeah, it was good. I liked it. I mean, it just says what yeah, and the Bachelors.
Yeah,
Bachelors. God, who else was there? Was it Taylor? Trainer. Trainer, yeah. So.
But then there were some ghosts that just seemed like they were just so tormented.
Because they aren't supposed to be there, pretty much.
Right, but it sounds like that was their punishment.
You understood what tarry meant, right? Oh, this is not good for children to tarry. Children don't tarry here. Did you get all that? Did you understand that?
No.
I guess the tarry. What is it? The ability to stay in that place,
tarry, yeah,
rather than to move on.
Yeah. You're supposed to be somewhere else, but you're staying in that particular place. And Saunders, like, even admitted in the video that I linked to you on the Goodreads forum, is that it was pretty much a device so that we had to get the ghost behind some common cause, and saving Willie was that cause. Again, you could look at it in the context of the Civil War. Old people don't get drafted into the army. The young people do, and they're the ones that are the victims. So that's what I thought of as well. So they get
So did everything happen over one day?
One night. They have to go return to their bodies in the day.
Their bodies in their
sick boxes.
In their sick boxes.
It confused the crap out of me. It's like, oh my god, it's a coffin! Holy crap!
Yep.
About 150 pages in.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah, it didn't take me that long to figure it out, but I knew after a while.
Talking about poop in a sick box?
Yeah, he was talking about shitting himself in the coffin.
I mean, I knew it was a coffin when he first said it.
Oh, did you?
In the beginning, yeah. Because they don't ever say coffin at any other time. It's always the sick box.
Mm-hmm.
They use coffin every so often, but just to let you know.
I didn't remember.
Yeah, just to let you know that sick box is a euphemism. Go ahead.
Was it only the live people used coffin, but the ghosts called them all sick boxes?
I don't know.
I think that's what the case was.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like they were denying that they were dead, which is the point of the book.
Right.
They still want to live their life here on Earth.
So, one part that I didn't fully understand was when they all entered Lincoln's body.
Yes.
What were they hoping to accomplish with that?
To bring him back.
From leaving?
Yes.
Yeah. They were the opinion that apparently, they could affect a change in the living by getting into their bodies and like that, and that's why toward the end all the ghosts tried to get Lincoln to turn around, and they weren't able to do it. So, again, that's the common cause that he wanted.
Yeah, seeing him go into the crypt or whatever from the video that you sent, seeing Lincoln walk in there and then just come out with Willie's body was pretty sad. He just snuggled with his son's body under the tree.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that kind of grief.
Yeah, but the interesting part was that, number one, he had to go on being president. And number two, the Willie's death apparently really incapacitated his wife, Lincoln's wife. I guess I think she became a recluse after that, pretty much.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there must have been guilt associated, because didn't he die during a party?
Yes.
They were and the party kept going.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he was very sick during the party, and I guess after around that same evening, that's when he died. And that's when in citing the contemporary sources, they let him ride a horse without any, clothes, not without any clothes, but not enough protection from the weather was the implication. They let him do what he wanted, and they're responsible for his death.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, it's already a bad situation. You're gonna pile it on,
right?
So.
They spent a lot of time describing what Lincoln looked like.
Yes.
So I found myself just trying to find pictures.
So you're showing me pictures of Lincoln. I'm like, why are you showing me pictures of Abe Lincoln?
Because they were talking about it.
They were talking about how ugly he was.
Because it's Lincoln in the Bardo. Yeah.
But some people were like, oh, he looks very classy and very this, and then other people were just saying how ugly he was, and
yeah. But that says more about the writer than it does about the subject, which was how it was interesting. It's what do you pick out? Oh, he's this, he's that,
Well,
He's the homeliest man I've ever seen.
I guess it just had me thinking of a lot of things, right? Like, especially in our political climate, I think.
Yes.
Because we're living through things now. We see them as, I feel like, very unique and very individual. But then I was like, did every single president ever go through the same exact thing?
Probably not.
Always like just a huge group of people that disliked him or hated him or just, felt like he was the worst person ever.
Yes. Well, you'll always have critics like that, though, regardless of who you are. So.
Yep. President or not.
Yeah. You always have enemies.
Haters.
Yes, haters. Haterade. But, yeah, but I think there are very few, I would say the majority of them were peacetime presidents. And, with the others, it was all, wars on other shores. This is the only war that was fought here on our soil. Mm-hmm. So that makes it unique, I think. And that was one of the interesting juxtapositions, when Lincoln was cradling Willie's body and he says, if, this is what it's like to lose a child, and I'm responsible for all these parents losing their children, because what I chose to, defend the Union.
Damn. Damn.
And then he says, well, now what do I do? Do I go back and then make everything like a waste? Or do I continue? It's like, what do I do? And it's like, that's pretty poignant.
Yeah. Heavy stuff.
Yeah.
So I know it's probably not based on much historical accuracy. But
we don't know how much of this is citations.
No, I was just going to say that I saw, I think it was called, was it Abe Lincoln Vampire Hunter? Is that the name of it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I never watched it.
Did you ever see that?
I've heard of it. I want to see it, but I haven't.
I saw it. I actually really liked it. Wait, I liked it more than the Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies.
Well, there's also... Go ahead.
They tell his story, and so I remember watching that movie and being really intrigued to want to learn more about Abe Lincoln.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's also the actual Lincoln movie, and I can't remember who starred in it, but I understand it was really good. He was
wondering if I saw that too.
Academy Award level performance, and I can't remember who the main actor.
I don't have my phone.
I don't have my phone either. But you do have this in front of you.
I was thinking that, but I was like, go for it.
I see a Lincoln movie.
But, now this book, I think.
Oh, is this called Lincoln, huh? Oh yeah, I never watched that one either.
I feel like I might have Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh, I don't know.
It's supposed to be really good. I haven't seen it though.
I'll have to check it out again, maybe. But so
yes.
Something that's interesting was just that just recently I finished reading a book called A Brief Tour of Higher Consciousness.
Huh?
And it was talking all about the universal mind and how our soul is part of that. And then when we die, that's where it goes. It goes back to the universal mind. And so when Willie left, the way he was talking, it just kind of sounded like that. Just that he was going back to that pool, back to the universal mind. That was my interpretation of it, though.
That's unclear because... how should I put this? Remember the chapter where the Reverend goes to be judged?
Was that where they were weighing things?
Yes, the angels.
Oh, weighing hearts? Yeah.
Yes. Which totally reminded me of America. Totally reminded me of American Gods, but that's another story for another time.
We need to continue on that journey as well.
Yeah. But at any rate, we're not sure if... Yeah, he says they're real, but they're real to the Reverend because that's his tradition. That's his Judeo or Christian tradition. And granted, maybe not the hearts, because that seems like really, really Egyptian to me. But having the angels and the Christ figure and that sort of a thing. But if you're a Buddhist, like Saunders is becoming the author. He said he was a budding Buddhist in that last, again, on that video that I sent. Your interpretation would probably be more correct, because that's what the Bardo is. It's your way station between lives, pretty much. So.
Right. Because like what the book that I just read said, basically there's just this huge pool, and that we're all God. We're all just pieces of.
Yes, that's very Buddhist. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
The thing I found out with reading on Goodreads, though, is apparently there's 108 chapters, and apparently Buddhist prayer beads have 108 beads.
Interesting.
And they talk about each bead is like a reflection on your imperfections, I guess. And I guess the three root ones are the ignorance, attachment, and aversion are like the three primes. And you see that throughout the book.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, wow.
And then they say, well, what's the 109th beat? And the 109th beat is like a period of reflection. It's like this was like, think about this, what you just read, sort of a thing. So I thought that was really cool to have that underpinning. But
I read the Book of Buddha at one point, and I don't claim to be one thing or another, but a lot of what I read just resonated with me.
Mm-hmm.
So the ideas of like attachment causing suffering.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And that goes through all through the book. That's what their primary problem is.
Why did I just
some have more than others. Some have more of one than the other, but they all the spirits show at least one of those traits. So, and actually, this book reminds me, if you ever read C.S. Lewis's *The Great Divorce*, which I read way back when, talks about the same thing. It's like, what you die and you're in purgatory, but that's your hell because you can leave anytime you want, but you're still attached to what what you wanted on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow!
And that's why I think Saunders uses that in that concept in this book. So the spirits could leave anytime they wanted, but they're just like remember the one with 3 girls?
Mm-hmm.
It said, wow, that's a hard one to could you forget about your children?
Yep.
So
that's what I was going to ask. What was the festival at the beginning, or where everybody was seeing visions of their loved ones or whatever at the orbs?
Yeah, I didn't understand the orbs thing.
Well, the 3 orbs was the lady and her daughters.
Yeah.
But her daughters weren't dead.
Yeah, but that's what she loved most in life, so that was her anchor to the Bardo.
Yeah, that was her manifestation.
Yeah. And what was the festival? Refresh my memory.
Well, at the beginning, like all of the ghosts ended up seeing loved ones or certain things that they were attached to, telling them it's time to move on, let's go.
The appearance of the angels. They're like, they want you to move. They want you, They try to persuade them to leave.
Right.
And I'll call it a flashbang. I know it's not that in the book, but this is shorter. When they make that decision to leave, they immediately disappear. That's what they're trying to do. It's to convince the spirits to leave.
Right. Well, there's a couple of them fell, and then that's when they realized that Willie was fighting it.
Yeah. And good.
And was he fighting it because Abe kept coming back to see him, or like?
If I recall correctly, Willie was thinking, "Oh yeah, my dad will come and get me," and And as the book goes on, he obviously finds out, by merging into the physical body that he learns Lincoln's thoughts, and he says, "Oh my God, I'm dead."
Right.
And that snips the cord, shall we say, of the anchor.
And a whole bunch of them start going.
Yes.
After that.
Yep. That was very cinematic. I could see that happening in a movie, like, you know.
Yeah, like
Right.
yeah. I think it would make a good movie. But the idea of the Bardo, I don't know, that's kind of scary to me. I feel like I'd be stuck there.
What would you stay for?
I don't know. I'd want to haunt everybody. I would.
Thanks.
Especially you.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
You're gonna torment me for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was interesting. Remember when I'm reminded of when Bevins entered, Lincoln, remember he was sitting cross-legged? And, Hans does it first, and he says, "Oh, yeah, come on in." And then when Bevins does it, like, my Lincoln's mind immediately switches to when he was a kid, and there was that girl that, she was coming on to him. And, he knows that he shouldn't because she can't even read. She's an animal. And it's like, wow, that's an interesting way of doing it. Like, it's, Bevins being the homosexual. Oh, his love is forbidden too.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's interesting how he lined that up, but in a very different way. Causing him to think like that. So it's interesting how things worked in the Bardo. Apparently, ghosts could hit each other, and they apparently have some kind of physical manifestation among each other, but not to obviously the living.
Right.
So
some parts were really just uncomfortable. Like the one guy who I guess was a slave owner.
Mm-hmm.
Was he calling them shards? Like
yes.
Shards of coal.
Yes. Yeah, and that was one of the things. Oh my God! Even here, But of course, that's
right.
Right. Well, that's
why
what he was thinking when he died. And what was weird is that his affliction was that he loved and cared for these shards, but that he treated them like crap.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Well,
he was using the slaves as his, or for his pleasure.
Yeah. He loved to hate them, I think, is probably
that's a good way to put it.
And that's why I thought, is it Key or Peele that did the narration?
Key.
His was a very powerful reading. I thought that he was one of the better voice actors.
Oh, well, I mean, he's definitely got the energy to put into it.
Yeah. So, especially like, I think it was him that, he was using. Apparently, you get the impression from the Barons that he said this speech a lot, to the point where they help him out. It's like, oh yeah, they like the prompters.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, say this line here. But yeah, I thought that was a really good addition to the book, because they makes the point that the African Americans weren't buried in the cemetery; they were buried, so they weren't constricted by it, whereas the white people could only go up to the bounds of the cemetery.
I didn't catch
that. If you remember it.
So I didn't catch that through it.
Yeah, because remember how in one of the last scenes, I think it's Key's character. Key, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, his character rides with Lincoln out of the cemetery. Because he's
right.
Yeah, he says, "Yeah, I want to see how this, So I thought that was really well done too. But in his. Yes.
I'm curious what George Saunders' other work is like. Is this like his first novel?
First novel, yes. He's a short story writer normally. Which, when you think about it, this really is a short story expanded into the novel. Yeah. Because it occurs over one night and has essentially 3, maybe 4 characters, main characters. So. But,
that's crazy, though, to have so much going on around one section, like one day, one instance of life.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine how you'd be like, I need 166 voices in this.
Mm-hmm. And they let him do it, so it's just great.
I know, and who else was in there that was like pretty famous? I read all of these names to John the other night. He was like, are you going to read all 166?
And she did.
Yes.
I totally am. So strap yourself in. Be hell of a ride.
Brad Garrett.
Dan Zitt. I don't know who Dan Zitt is, but I think Susan Sarandon was in it.
David McLaughlin.
Yep, Susan Sarandon, Ben Stiller.
Mm-hmm.
Joan Saunders.
Lena Dunham.
Yep. And a lot of his friends, the author's friends, I'm sure participated too.
Caitlin Saunders.
Yeah, see? No, they all did a really good job.
What do you think of the cover?
I thought it was very striking.
I think so too, but I don't know. Like, I didn't look at what it's of. I'm trying to get a close up.
But
Interesting.
and I could see what you're saying. I want more Lincoln, but if he did that, I think that would, like, nobody would want to read a book like that. To be honest, like 300 pages.
I don't want to read a book like that. That's what I thought I was walking into. That's when I voted on it. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
When I looked up what Bardo meant, I was like, oh, well, this is going to be weird.
Yeah. But go ahead.
I had read a lot of reviews, and people were like, it's a masterpiece, and it's wonderfully created. And, like, it was just, like, you know, all this awesomeness about it that when I started listening to it, I was just like, what? Like, it just...
I'm missing something here.
Yeah, that's what I felt like. I was like, I'm missing something. I want to feel how these other people felt about it.
Was this an Overdrive, or was this in... Did we do this... We didn't buy this one, right?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
It's Overdrive.
Because I would try and like listen to it again to read through it.
Yeah.
Maybe with the book in hand. I don't know, but
I think that would
feel
be
like
the ideal way.
What?
I think that would be the ideal way.
Right. I just feel like it's. You're right. She brought it. It's crazy creative. Like, and there's like so many like tangents and many stories within it. It's just there's so much to take in.
Mm-hmm. I took a lot of notes when in my reading, so I'll see if I could pull them up.
I tell myself I'm going to do that every month, or actually for every book that I read.
I know.
I'm like, I got to take notes. That never happens.
I listened to Gunslinger on the way home because you told me to listen to Quiet, and I turned it on and it was gone. I told you to get rid of it, didn't I?
I don't know. I don't think so. It shouldn't have been gone.
Okay, well, it said it was expired, and I couldn't listen to it. So I listened to like a half hour of Gunslinger, and in that half hour, I learned like so many more things that I did not know.
Yes,
it is ridiculous. So I just I don't have time to re-listen to things.
Yeah.
How dare you, Freddie?
Take all this in and then take it all in again. I can't.
Mm-hmm. But, yeah, I have a lot of quotes here, so
let's use the notes. Would you take notes on your Kindle, or would you just like handwrite notes?
Me? I have them on my Kindle.
Okay.
I've never actually looked for them until now. So oh, because usually on my Paperwhite is go to notes, hooray! You know, this is a little bit different. So yeah, but I also like with the descriptions of the period. You know, they showed, you know, like the farmers and stuff saying, yeah, my boy was just fishing days ago and now he's in the Union Army, and you just got to notice that he passed away, you know, at one of the battles. It's like, wow. So, you know, and then the more polished accounts of the war, you know, from higher up, it's just a different perspective of the same thing. So it's like, you know, and I think that's why he did it like that, so he could have all those perspectives all in one thing, and then you just have to piece them together and say, okay, these are all the voices of America. Yeah. So let me see. I'm trying to find my notes here. Is this it? Nope. Those are the clips. Any other thoughts on it? That's a bookmark.
I mean, I know when we started listening to it, like it starts off very serious, and then you were kind of in the other room, sort of hearing, and then they started talking about the poop in the 6 box.
Oh
And
yeah, I was
like,
in the bathroom doing
what the
something,
hell
and then
are you listening
yeah, I was
to?
like, what about what's going on?
I don't
It got
understand.
really silly really fast, and I'm like, wait a minute, what's this? And they were serious about being silly. Like it was just a straight like, well, I just shouted it all inside of the like 6 box, and then it's like one in my predicament does. I was like, what's going? And then it like I don't know, what was it, like a half hour later? I was like, they're freaking dead. They're freaking dead. They're all dead.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So I guess everybody had like, wooden teeth and peg legs and stuff back then.
Yeah. That's what dental work was back then. Was take your teeth out and then like chisel stuff out of wood, put it in, eat with wood.
That's so weird.
Well, one of the other things I noticed, it was very subtle. I thought that for the older, like from the colonial times, they had them speak like when they wrote it like the colonials would, like called was CAULD instead of CALLED. So it gives you an idea of how long they've been in the Bardo.
Right.
I thought that was really cool. So I'm trying to find my notes, but I'm not seeing them here. So I don't know what. Oh, here's one. Oh yeah, this is different descriptions of the moon. I thought was pretty good. But
they had a full spectrum.
Yeah, well, that's what on the video again, that the Q&A that he was doing, he mentioned it as America singing. So the voices, having all these voices together. Yeah, having all these voices together. So. Yeah, because it's one of the ones. This is like in chapter 7, so this is very early on, page 22 in the book. It says, "Then today, wet and cold, and around 2, a single small carriage arrived and stopped at the cemetery gate. And again, the president got out. This time, accompanied by 3 gentlemen, 1 young and 2 old. They were met at the gate by Mr. Weston and his young assistant, and all went off to the chapel." And I thought that was interesting because, like, now wait, could he be meaning Bevins, Bowman, and Thomas? Because there'd be two old men and 1 young one.
Right.
But that was before I, caught on to what was actually going on here. So, yeah, and as for the president, it's like, he has that extra responsibility here, to take care of the country, and he has to set his personal beef aside. And do the job, shall we say. And that's when, again, in that Q&A, he's talking about, Saunders is talking about empathy. And he said with Lincoln, his empathy grew, because doubtlessly when he was growing up as a kid, he was, a little racist white boy, like the other little racist white boy. But as time progressed, his empathy grew to the point where, what we see in the book, he sees, I am essentially the cause of this bloodshed. But the goal is good, but getting there is going to be awfully hard, and sacrifices will have to be made. But unfortunately,
well, I mean, obviously there were other people that felt like the cause was worth fighting for.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it wasn't just him, obviously. Yeah.
I just think this is a very, very interesting and eye-opening trait that really people didn't teach. Nobody knew that. Nobody taught that Lincoln had a son that had passed away, that had changed him as a man to be the president that we know.
Right.
It's who was going to tell this story.
Right.
Thank you, George.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's still as popular as this book might be, it's still a story that's not going to be well known.
Well, I would think a title like Lincoln in the Bardo Oh yeah, in a few, in a cemetery. Yeah, that'll get readers coming in. But yeah, lining them up. But I really liked it. I really liked the book.
Now that I have a better understanding of it, I like the book.
Like the book, yeah.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah.
Does Tom make you change your ratings?
I don't usually think about my ratings until after I speak to Tom.
Oh.
He reserves.
Okay, I guess I'm the vetting service. Yeah. Well, me personally, I loved the book. I gave it a 5.
Nice. Well
in fact, I
deserved.
sent a copy to a friend. Yeah.
I was actually thinking about
I mean,
telling other people about it
What?
myself.
What'd you say?
I was going to tell other people about it myself. But the one person I want to tell, hey, you should check this out, he didn't even listen to the last book, so screw him.
I don't know. I've been having trouble reading books recently. Just because, I don't know, for the first time, it just feels like I'm not grasping the material. And then I feel like I can't properly read it if I'm not fully getting it.
Then again, maybe you are, and that's that's the part you don't know.
Oh, let's not look at the other side of that coin.
But because like I said, I was stumped for like the first, I don't know, first third of the book. Then once it kicked in, it's like, oh yeah, and then it took me a while to realize on the audiobook, like when they would use the strings, oh, we're going into the historical section now, and then when they use the spooky graveyard intro, oh, we're going back to the cemetery now. So I thought that, it's again really high production values for the audiobook,
Yeah.
I think this is one book where it super benefits from doing both at the same time, reading and listening.
Well, do you think it'll be optioned for film?
An option
Do you
what?
think it'll be optioned
For film?
I would hope so. I mean, there are books which I said they'll never make a movie out of that, and yet here we are. The English Patient comes to mind.
See, it says Lincoln in the Bardo is headed for Hollywood.
Oh wow, I would love to. I would see it.
Yeah. Lincoln in the Bardo is already being.
Where do you see that?
The fourth one down.
This one?
Yeah.
Is going to be turned into a movie.
Yeah.
And that's from March 24th.
Oh wow.
Well, it'd be a pretty cheap one to make, I would think.
Oh my god!
It's only one setting.
The film adaptation doesn't have a cast yet, but we're hoping Daniel Day-Lewis might be willing to reprise his astounding aptitude for playing Abraham Lincoln.
See?
That'd be good. That'd be good for him, but I don't think it would.
Typecasting, maybe? I don't know. But, no, he's retired. Daniel Day-Lewis. I don't think he would do it because I think he retired fairly recently. But if you watch the Q&A, they do a reading of one of the chapters where Bevins and Volman are inside of Lincoln, and the guy who plays Lincoln in that read through is really, really good.
So, where is this?
It's on the video I linked.
Okay.
You should check that out sometime.
Yeah. What? There you go. Yeah, there's a good read for him.
I can access on my phone. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know why I'm not getting notifications for it.
Because nobody tagged you. You just go and you read things.
If you want to be tagged on a post, the best way to do is just reply to it. So like stick a text in there. Hey, notify me, and it'll.
Oh, it'll notify afterwards. Yeah. Like I just opted into a thread in Facebook.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay.
Something like that. I hope they revamp their forum stuff at some point. I feel like that's the weakest part of Goodreads, but.
So you never told me what you gave it, Desirai. Did you give it a 1?
No.
Have you given anything a 1?
First Life was the only thing I've ever given a 1.
You really hated that book.
Oh my god!
Really?
I couldn't stand Tenley. Oh my god, I just couldn't.
You remember
I think
her name? That's more than I can say.
Other thing I gave a 1 to. I think it was like I read some Twilight parody.
That's
okay.
Give it a 1 to. That's a justified 1. Okay, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It wasn't funny. It was really, really stupid. And I liked Twilight, so whatever. I don't know. I feel like if I didn't think about it, I would just give it a 3. But that's
fine.
But it feels unfair. I don't know.
I'll give it a 4.
Okay.
Is that how we even out?
Are you
You would
saying
give it a
yours
4?
is 3.5?
No. Maybe my thoughts about it will change after I see the movie. I'm a more visual person. I just had trouble with it.
In your defense, it's written as a play. I mean, and then so it naturally lends itself to. That's why having the audiobook is so much better, because it's almost like you could hear the actors say, "Oh, I know who's speaking." Like, especially I know David Sedaris without having to be told it's David Sedaris. And I know often, yeah. Oh, I listened to a lot of David Sedaris. David Sedaris, yeah. David Sedaris was what got me into audiobooks, actually.
Oh, that's interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have a couple of his books that I've never read.
Yeah, to hear him read his stuff adds a whole other dimension to it.
I'm gonna have to check it out. I think I have.
He's really good.
I think I have Me Talk Pretty One Day.
Yes, that's a good one.
And then there's another one that I have that I don't know the name of. It has like a mannequin or a doll on the front or something.
Spoiler alert: this is the kind of book I like to read.
And what do you mean by that?
Well, in the sense of it's challenging. It's you have to think a bit, feel a bit too. Yeah, and it's just a really, really well written book. You appreciate his use of language and such.
Wait, what book is this?
It's the one we're talking about.
Oh, okay.
Lincoln in the Bardo.
All right, excuse me for a moment.
He's being comic relief. Very good, John.
I have to run for the restroom.
Okay.
Be right back.
Oh, you were distracted. Carry on.
What?
Just go.
Okay.
You were distracted. Carry on. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's really well written. I have a lot of passages quoted, on my Kindle and such, and like I said, that's just the kind of book I like to read. Given my druthers, that's what I like to read. To be honest, I was surprised it won, but I'm glad it did because I really, really wanted to read this book. So.
I voted on it.
Yeah, it's like holy crap! They actually voted it in. So, not that the other books were bad, because I have listened to Sarah Vowell's books before too, and she's really good. And the other one's the Washington Spies one, which I also would have liked to have read, which I ended up reading because I want to see the series, Turn, which is based on it. So, yeah, they were all good selections.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised at what won for August.
When we were talking and you said, "Wait, the Roaches Have No King." Wait a minute, that's not what I remember was leading when I looked at it. It was I thought you could say it was 1,000 Suns. It's like, no, apparently not.
Yeah. The other 2 books I have heard like endlessly that were amazing, but apparently The Roaches Have No King has like a cult following, and interestingly enough, I had tweeted at somebody who was talking about, like, he made a joke saying what it was like for, people in a book club to try to come up with the next book. And there was a picture that he associated with it. And I said, well, my book club is going to be reading The Roaches Have No King. So that's going to be interesting.
Yes.
And someone tweeted me, like a different person who wasn't even part of the conversation, tweeted me today and said, I'd like to be part of that book club because that's my favorite book.
Wow.
And I was like, there's no way. I've never heard of anybody who even knows that book.
I've never heard of it, but that's no indication.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right. Did you see the cover on it?
Yes. Yeah, because I have it. I own it. I've had it for like 15, 16 years.
Is it the same cover that's on?
It's on Amazon.
Oh,
it's good. The one that's on Goodreads, I think.
Oh, the one that's on Goodreads is actually pretty good. The one that they use for the Kindle version is absolutely awful.
Yeah.
Like, who the hell designed this?
I don't. Hold on, The Roaches Have No King. So I have attempted to read this book.
Yes, it makes my eyes hurt.
Roaches Have No
I read the
King.
prologue and it's engaging so far, so I will continue with it.
It's just, I don't know why, but my cousin, like years and years ago, my cousin must have just finished reading it, and we happened to start talking about books, and so she had recommended it. And she said that it was like, she loved it. And then I got it, and, you know, this is me in my early 20s. I got it, and I was reading it, and I was like, these roaches are talking? Like, I don't...
Yes, it's told from the roach's point of view.
Yeah.
But, and I've read a few cult classics. Some of them lived up, and some of them really didn't. So, Confederacy of Dunces comes to mind, as does That Swim Two Birds, but...
So, I've been letting John nominate one of my 3.
Oh.
Just so that he feels more involved. He's not just reading.
Well, you involved him on that video, and you didn't take any of his suggestions except for 2.
So he must have looked at my Goodreads list or something. He was like, "Oh, this sounds like a weird book." And he was like, "Never heard of this," and so he nominated.
So he's responsible for this.
Yes, for The Roaches Have No King.
Okay.
So that's why I was like, he doesn't know what he's done.
We're gonna find out. Like I said, it's not. It's actually engaging. Like I read the prologue so far, and it's all right. I'll continue. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes, and that's not until September anyway. So we got a long time. So
the only interesting about that is that apparently there's no audiobook for it.
Yes, I know. I figured that out. Because usually I would be listening and listening and reading at the same time, but I can't still read. Just read, even though it'll be odd to me now. It's like when I started, it's like, oh my god, it's like getting used to both inputs. But now it's just like second nature. It's just like, oh my god. Like if I'm listening to it, it's like my eyes have to have something to do, and if I'm reading, my ears have to have something to do. So. Yeah, so because I went looking for it in the library because I know John would prefer to listen, and now I'm going to have to read the book and then hand it to him when I'm done, or vice versa. Or something. Why don't you read it to him? How about that? I guess we could possibly do that. The Roaches Have No King, as narrated by Desirai. I'm sure John will love that. It'll be awesome. Feline Audiobooks presents. All right, so just making that official declaration, that is what we're reading for the month of August. It's The Roaches Have No King by Daniel Evan Weiss. A surprise winner, to me anyway. Yes, it won, and it was in the running with, what is it? The Thousand Something Suns. 1,000 Splendid Suns and The Glass Castle, and The Roaches Have No King won. Well, there you have it. So, just a reminder that if anybody wants to be involved and in video with us during these discussions, you can find out more information about how to do that by visiting patreon.com/ I almost said the wrong Patreon page. Patreon.com/ Libri Labra. Oh. Yeah. Not that other word, yeah. Yeah. And so there's different tiers, and you guys can get a custom bookmark and a handwritten letter. You can vote on, books for me to review, be involved in polls. There's just a few different tiers. So there are exclusive rewards available for patrons. And thanks for joining us this evening. Did you have any closing words about Lincoln in the Bardo? Again, I thought it was fantastic. I mean, it is a bit of a challenge at the beginning, but like I said, this is the first book I've read that actually I think is the optimal way to read this is with the audiobook together. So, and it makes it so much more enjoyable. So, that's my suggestion. Also, see YouTube for those read performances too. Yes. Those are pretty, and the video, they're on the Goodreads forum. I will go show them to John now. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Tom. Oh, you're back. Oh. We're just saying our goodnights. No. And we were talking about how you nominated The Roaches Have No King.
Did I? Yes, I did.
Did I? No, I totally didn't. Better get ready to be. Tom suggested I read it to you. Since
how do you feel about that?
There's no audiobook available for it.
Oh, okay.
So you have your own personal.
And this is after she was like, "Hey, it has no audiobook. You should submit one."
Yeah, I told him that he should submit it, like he should actually record it and submit it to
I'll narrate
Audible. That'd be interesting.
At least an excerpt, anyway. So read the whole thing of it. No,
just a 2-minute excerpt.
Is that what it's supposed to be?
Yeah, just 2 minutes. You should do it.
Yeah, if you're serious about it. Yeah, it has no audiobook. It has no audiobook like the Roaches have no king. He's an audiobook.
Oh my gosh.
I'm curious.
Have you started it?
Huh?
No.
Have you started it?
No, not yet.
I read the prologue and it's actually pretty engaging. So we're gonna see how it.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's
Did you read what it's about?
It's someone said.
Someone said?
No, I remember reading comments and they were like, "Dude, this sounds like Joe's apartment."
Yeah.
I'm like,
no. I never saw Joe's apartment.
It is awful. I'll never watch that movie. Actually, you can watch it for comedy. I mean, it's laughable, but it's ridiculously stupid. Did you watch it?
I've heard of it. I've seen
Joe's apartment.
Heard it. I've seen like scenes, but I've never seen the whole thing.
Because roaches live forever, so they have so much history and knowledge. They know so much. They're so smart. I'm serious.
That was great. That was good reaction.
I love the delivery. That's perfect. They are so smart.
All right. Right, we'll read the book. We'll have a discussion. We'll see.
Did you read it already?
I tried to read it on 2 separate occasions.
Like 20 years ago?
Once like 20 years ago, and then once maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, I tried to read it with AJ.
How'd that work?
It didn't. So,
Third time's the charm then.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I'm
Let's
ready.
do this.
All right.
Yes,
so
wrap it up.
Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll be back next month with a new book. So have a good night. Bye.
Good night. Bye.